Сьогодні ми досліджуємо. Today, we're exploring a true paradigm shift. We're bridging that massive gap between ancient agriculture and the absolute cutting edge of green medical technology. Welcome to our deep dive into the microscale revolution, hemp, bioelectronics, and nanoemulsions. We're going on a bit of a journey today to see how the very materials we use to monitor and heal the human body are literally being redesigned from the ground up.
It's kind of a crazy paradox, right? Think about it. We live in this era of unprecedented medical advancement, but when you really look under the hood, our cutting-edge healthcare, it still heavily relies on rigid, toxic metals for wearable tech, and, while incredibly inefficient, wasteful, oil-based supplements when we try to deliver things internally. Why is the future of medicine still trapped in these manufacturing methods of the past, especially when nature might actually already hold the blueprint for something way better?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at medicine's toxic waste problem, then plant-based wearable electronics, and the hemp carbonization process. After that, we'll tackle the nanoemulsion delivery breakthrough, hacking the digestive system, and we'll wrap up with the future of bioelectronics.
Section 1. Medicine's toxic waste problem. Let's start on the outside of our bodies. The global healthcare system is facing a genuinely massive crisis with medical electronic waste. And it stems from a very real, very important medical need: continuous monitoring. If someone has a chronic condition, like heart disease or diabetes, they don't just need a one-off snapshot at the hospital. They need 24/7 tracking. But the old way of doing this, it relies on sensors using rare, expensive metals like gold or copper, which oxidizes, all mixed up with toxic organic solvents. We're talking tens of millions of tons of unrecyclable e-waste every single year. So the green way we're moving toward completely flips this. It demands flexible textiles, biocompatible materials, and a sustainable life cycle. It's really about ditching the rigid plastics and heavy metals for something that literally breathes with the patient.
Section 2. Plant-based wearable electronics.
To replace those toxic components, material scientists had to look somewhere totally unexpected. They didn't cook up a new synthetic polymer in a lab. Nope, they looked to the farm. Specifically, hemp. Yeah, humanity's oldest rope-making crop is seriously becoming a massive competitor to synthetic medical electronics. I know, it sounds impossible. How does this primitive, low-tech plant get hacked at the nano level to replace things like silicon and gold in our smart shirts? Well, hemp happens to have a really high cellulose content, a super strong microfiber structure, and low density. But to actually make it electronic, we have to fundamentally change its structure. Section 3. The hemp carbonization process. Let's move to and see how this actually builds. How do we transform a plant into nanocarbon for medical-grade sensors? It sounds like straight-up science fiction. It starts with raw hemp fiber. Then we put it through a process called pyrolysis, or carbonization. Essentially, you blast it with extremely high heat. But here is the key: you do it without any oxygen present. Because there's no oxygen, the organic plant structure doesn't just burn up into ash. Instead, it completely restructures itself into this highly porous 3D nanoscale carbon network. This hemp carbon has electrochemical properties that absolutely rival super expensive materials like graphene. And once we have this carbon, we just mix it into eco-friendly polymers to create flexible, highly conductive inks. So what can these inks actually do when you print them onto a shirt? According to a massive 2023 study in ACS Sustainable Chemistry and Engineering, these hemp e-textiles are the real deal. They can track body movements and record clinical-grade ECGs, accurately capturing your P, QRS, and T waves. They monitor sweat hydration, your body temperature, and they do it all without causing any skin irritation. And, get this, they maintain their electrical conductivity even after 50 standard machine washes. The medical device is literally woven directly into your clothes.
Section 4. The nanoemulsion delivery breakthrough.
Okay, so we've successfully monitored the outside of the body using plant-based nanotechnology. But what about the inside? Let's switch gears and explore the microscale shift in how we deliver cellular health straight into our bloodstreams. We're talking about nanoemulsion. This is the process of taking standard oil drops, which usually measure, a bulky 5 to 50 micrometers, and violently splitting them down into ultra-tiny spheres measuring just 20 to 200 nanometers. To a human cell, a standard drop of oil is basically an unscalable mountain. But a nanosphere? That is a perfectly sized molecular package.
To put that into perspective, consuming standard oil-based supplements, like your traditional hemp seed oil or CBD capsules, is exactly like trying to water a delicate, tiny garden using a massive, high-pressure fire hose. The vast majority of it just violently splashes away completely unused. In fact, our digestive systems waste up to 90% of traditional oil-based capsules because our bile acids just can't emulsify those giant fat drops efficiently enough.
Section 5, Hacking the Digestive System. So, to fix this massive waste problem, science had to figure out a way to pre-digest the oils, basically tricking the human digestive system using some incredibly brutal physics. The secret weapon here is ultrasonic cavitation. You take a mixture of oil, water, and an emulsifier, and you just blast it with powerful ultrasonic waves. This creates microscopic bubbles in the liquid that instantly collapse in on themselves. And when they collapse, they generate an unbelievable localized temperature of up to 5,000 degrees Celsius. That is literally comparable to the surface of the sun, along with 1,000 atmospheres of pressure. It's an ultrasonic hammer that completely obliterates the oil drops. The math on this is absolutely staggering. By shattering the oil like this, you get a 250,000-fold increase in surface area per drop. Think about that. Just 1 milliliter of this nanoemulsion holds around 100 trillion nanospheres. For our cells, this is a total game changer. They don't have to spend hours struggling to break down a giant blob of fat. The surface area is so vast that the cells just instantly surround the nanospheres with proteins and absorb them directly, completely bypassing the usual digestive bottlenecks. And the proof is right here in the pharmacokinetic data. Think about the Cmax. That's the peak plasma concentration in the blood. Nanoemulsions drive this 5 to 10 times higher than your standard oil capsules. But actually, consider the Tmax, the time it takes to reach that peak. Instead of waiting 2 to 4 long hours for standard digestion, nanoemulsions hit peak absorption in just 15 to 30 minutes. It's honestly comparable to an IV drip, but without the needle.
Section 6. The future of bioelectronics.
So, whether we're printing carbonized plant sensors onto our clothes or shattering oils into sun-hot nanospheres, we are looking at the undeniable future of green medicine. But let's be completely honest for a second about where this industry stands right now. This isn't magic, it's emerging science. Hemp e-textiles are super promising for sure, but they're still mostly in the lab testing phase, not in widespread clinical use just yet. We also know that the conductivity of this hemp-derived carbon is currently lower than expensive silver inks. Scaling this up for the mass market is going to require entirely new standardizations, and engineers are working around the clock to perfect that long-term wash stability.
But over on the nanoemulsion side, that stability issue, it's largely solved. Scientists use specific surfactants, things like lecithin or polysorbates, to form these tiny 3D cages around the nanospheres. This stops them from clumping back together, meaning they stay perfectly stable for 2 to 5 years without separating. And why does this matter to you? Because as we look ahead to the 2027 regulatory standards coming from the FDA and EFSA, this stability guarantees exact standardized dosing. Every single drop gives you the exact same amount of active ingredient. It literally transforms an unpredictable wellness oil into a precise medical-grade functional food. As we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with this one final thought. We are actively watching biology, material science, and medicine all merge into a single, highly sustainable ecosystem. We're swapping out toxic metals for carbonized plants and wasteful pills for hyper-efficient nanospheres. So what do you think? Will the next generation of life-saving medical technology be grown on a farm rather than built in a silicon factory? Honestly, the science is saying yes. Thanks so much for joining me today, and as always, stay curious.